The Gamecocks are going to go to Raleigh this weekend with a goal in mind to get out of Raleigh and then to get into the Supers and then to get to Omaha for the College World Series. Shoot, that's the goal for every team in college baseball. We can relate to that a little bit because a lot of us have goals of our own, specifically with weight loss goals. Everybody's is different too. We're not all trying to get to Omaha with our weight loss here, but some are trying to get in better shape and be able to live a healthier lifestyle. I fit into that category. And my friends at Columbia Secret for Weight Loss did a fantastic job of not only getting me to my weight loss goal, but I surpassed it by at least 5 pounds and climbing. And I can easily get to higher numbers because they have set me up for sustained success. Paul Grant and Shaylin over at Columbia Secret for Weight Loss have done numbers for me. They can do numbers for you, too. Give them a call, 803-824-4210. That's 803-824-4210. Or go to ColumbiaSecretForWeightLoss.com. Results may vary.
Welcome back into the postgame show on this Wednesday afternoon. This could be a candidate. Elijah and I earlier, this summer, we're going to settle in on a show theme song. It'll be something that's out there in the world. We're not going to write something.
Oh, no. I'm not that gifted.
But, Black and Blue by Van Halen was my old show's theme for a long time. And I let our current PD just say, yeah, we're just going to have some bumps. And I just, I humored him.
Right.
I'm a nice guy.
But I like a top of the hour, every hour theme.
A theme. So it could be Happy by Pharrell and Daft Punk and Nile Rodgers.
Yeah.
I don't know what Mitch Light thinks. Mitch, maybe not like a walk-up song, but, what would your walk-up song be if you had one, like coming to work every day?
Well, I'm not going to answer the question that was asked. I'm going to answer the question that I want to answer.
Okay.
I'm going to say for Elijah's show, from what I know about him, the show, it should be Freebird. I think every hour, just let it go.
Okay.
7 minutes. I know that's eating into some probably advertising time and callers, whatever, but just give me 7 minutes of Freebird before Elijah gets on the air.
See, I'm here for that because I'm a jam band guy. I don't know that Skinnerd is full-on jam band. Live, Skinnerd could play, man. There's no doubt about that. They could go. But I am, Mitch, a full-on jam band guy. So 7 minutes is short, dude.
I'll air guitar the entire thing, too, on the video stream.
Yeah.
Hair's coming down. It's the full thing.
Yeah. We watched Elijah grow up here in Nashville. Now he's a Freebird. He's soaring over there in Columbia, South Carolina.
So all right. I'm here for it.
Spurs, you cannot change.
I am here for that. I'm here for it. Mitch, we talked to you about a month ago, and South Carolina was playing maybe it wasn't quite a month ago, was it? They were kind of feeling like they were getting towards not life support, obviously, but
dire.
It was getting dicey.
I guaranteed.
Yeah, it was getting dicey.
Yeah.
So
it was before the Tennessee series, I think, and I guaranteed. And it was funny. I was at the SEC tournament for the first 2 days, and I was sitting next to some of the guys from D1 baseball. I was like, I don't do a lot of college baseball stuff on media, but I was on with a guy I know in South Carolina, and I just guaranteed, no doubt about it, they were going to make it. And I think it was who South Carolina playing the opener? I forgot.
Bama.
Whatever. Yeah, well, I don't know if they were down or whatever, and I was just like, hopefully that never comes to air again when they're baseball NIT or whatever like that. But my Gamecocks rallied, no doubt about it. And that's the funny thing. I mean, I'm getting ahead, but we had 5 quote-unquote bubble teams, and 4 of the 5 were number 2 seeds.
Yeah.
So, they all did enough, obviously.
Well, and that committee clearly valued RPI and strength of schedule, which obviously factors into the RPI, Mitch. But it's Florida got in. And the committee, Matt Hogue basically said number 1 strength of schedule was the tipping point.
Yeah, I was a big proponent of Florida and all 5 SEC teams getting in. I'm trying not to be an SEC homer. It's the league I watch the most, and it's the best league by far, and we all know this. They played 35 games against teams in an NCAA tournament. They went 14-21, which is a good record for a bubble team. Like if it wasn't Florida, it was like a team from a mid-major conference. First of all, they wouldn't play that many games, but if they had that winning percentage against teams in the tournament, you'd say that's pretty good. Yeah. And they also played 18 games against top 8 seeds, going 7-11. So as long as they met the over 500 criteria, which they did, I didn't really see a scenario in which they'd be left out, and they weren't. So again, you don't want to live on the edge like they did. They survived. But they're clearly one of the best, 35, 40 teams, whatever that at-large cutoff is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they certainly lived on the edge, all right. But Tennessee, running through the SEC tournament despite losing the first game, that earns them the number 1 overall seed in this tournament, which has always been bittersweet news for the teams that have gotten it since Miami won the whole thing. I believe that was in, 99, 98, when they won it. But no number 1 overall seed has won it since then. And the last time Tennessee was number 1 overall, they had one of the best hitting lineups in the history of the sport and didn't even make it to Omaha. So what are some of the reasons that this team, Mitch, can win the national championship and buck that trend? Or one of the reasons that they will find themselves being in line of every team since that Miami team that has been the number 1 overall seed and has fallen short of a title?
Well, the obvious reason why they can is that lineup. It's just ferocious. And there's just so many guys who can hurt you in so many different ways. And their pitching is good. It's not elite. I know I think we talked about this last time, from a statistical standpoint, you look at it and you say it's pretty elite because they're like second or third in the SEC in ERA. So the things that would concern me, Elijah, about them winning it all would be not having that true ace. Like, if you get to Omaha and what was it, the Skeens versus Louder last year from Wake, and you got the 1-0 game, 2-1 game, I know Tennessee's guys are capable, but they don't have on paper that one true ace. And I think what you see when you get teams go to Omaha, now it's not quite like it was in the mid-2010s, when no one was hitting home runs, but it's a pitcher-friendly park, and you can't live and die by the home run. They're not going to be playing. They'll be playing the first 2 rounds in Knoxville, but they won't be playing the College World Series there. So that'd be my concerns: the lack of elite pitching at the top and the reliance on home runs. But they're going to have trouble. If Wake Forest gets out of East Carolina, that Wake Forest versus Tennessee Supers, assuming Tennessee wins, will be unbelievable drama with the potential. Well, we'd see a Chase Burns versus Tennessee matchup, which would be incredible.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people that are pulling for that. Mitch Light of The Athletic is with us here talking NCAA baseball tournament. Kentucky, Georgia, A&M, Arkansas are the other SEC schools that are top 8 national seeds. Which of them are you most concerned about, and which of them do you think, punched the ticket already to Omaha?
Kentucky. I'm a little concerned about Kentucky, and I'm trying not to be just like, oh, it's Kentucky. They're not a name brand, so I don't, they haven't done it, so I'm therefore not going to pick them. They had some big series wins down the stretch, no doubt about it, but their pitching wasn't great. I meant to look this up. I don't have it. I remember Chris Burke saying it in the last day of the regular season of the Vanderbilt-Kentucky game, and he was just like, should we be concerned about Kentucky's pitching? Like, he threw out the stat. It was like in half of their last 10 SEC games, they'd given up 10 runs or more. So, their pitching hasn't been great. So that would be my concern there. So I'm publishing my predictions tomorrow. I haven't made them all. I do like kind of a capsule by region by region picks, and I think I might pick Indiana State in that one. The one I feel really good about is Texas A&M. I know they struggled down the stretch a little bit. It's funny, they lost 2 of their last 3 SEC series, but the one series they won was Arkansas, and they went 0-2 in Hoover. But I think when they're right, like they were midseason, they have the best combination of pitching and hitting. And I think the most valuable thing you can have in college baseball, even maybe more so than that number 1 ace, is the shutdown reliever who can go 5-6 innings, like Kevin Kopps at Arkansas a couple years ago. And Chris Cortez has been that guy for them. I think I've seen there might be the betting favorites now over Tennessee in some sites. So it's not like I'm, that's not a hot take, but I really like Texas A&M.
And then last year, I think one of my favorite parts about the entire postseason was Oral Roberts making that run to the College World Series. And Oral Roberts is back in it as a 4 because, by virtue of winning that conference. But what's the most dangerous 3 or 4 seed that you can see making some noise, maybe to a super regional or, heaven forbid, punching a ticket to Omaha and kind of being this year's ORU?
James Madison and Bryant. No, I just said that because they're in Columbia.
Well played.
But, I actually did look. James Madison, I didn't know a ton about them, but those, and you guys have probably talked a little bit, those guys can hit. They can't really pitch. Some of their pitching stats are kind of alarming, but they can hit. I mean, okay, here's a really boring answer for a number 3 seed. I know that's not really what you mean, but, you look at Florida as a 3 seed, that's a pretty talented 3 seed. A couple of the 4 seeds stand out. Penn, I think they went down to Auburn, was it last year, and won a game. Grand Canyon's a 4 seed in Tucson, and Grand Canyon won 2 out of 3 from Arizona, the top seed. Now, they were midweek games, and those aren't really true barometers of how you're going to do in the postseason because your pitching doesn't line up like a weekend. But, a lot of people who know a lot more than me are pointing to Tucson being the toughest regional. I think part of it's because Grand Canyon does not look like an easy out in a 1-4 matchup. Yeah,
and Dallas Baptist is really good. I don't know how good Arizona is. I think that's when they won the Pac-12, and, we know they have a history in this sport, but I would agree. And I'm with you, Mitch. Nebraska won the Big Ten tournament. Oklahoma State's at home, and we know they're historical, generational baseball power, but if I'm the Cowboys and the Cornhuskers, I'm like, are you serious? You sent bleeping Florida to play us? Like that, I'd be really worried.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's 2 scenarios for Florida. Like, one is they go 0-2, and like, okay, that's why. Or the other is like they're playing for the national championship. But, Nebraska is a sneaky good team. I didn't know a ton about them. And I did a little research for my capsules. Their ace, this guy Brett Sears, leads the nation in WHIP at .810, which is really, really low. He's only walked 18 batters in 99 innings. So that is assuming he'll pitch Friday. That's a really tough opening pitcher for Florida to go against. So, you figure if they get by that, they're in pretty good shape. But that is going to be, I'm really looking forward to see how Florida comes out this weekend.
Do you buy, I got about a minute left here, do you buy into the conspiracy theories that many that follow the sport are projecting that Coastal is only in because their AD chairs the committee?
It's hard to debunk that theory when their head coach, and I didn't hear the audio. I just saw people reference it. I looked for it like after they lost in the championship or in the tournament, basically was resigned to the fact that they weren't getting in. So if the coach doesn't think they're getting in, and most people that follow this and do the bracketology every week don't think they're getting in, I don't know, conspiracies. I'm usually not conspiracy theorist, but it seems a little fishy. And I mean, obviously, great career for Gary Gilmore. Yeah. But it's just you got to get on your own merits, and I think he'd be the first to tell you that.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting storyline. Mark Etheridge of D1 said on their podcast the other day, Mitch, some media guys were saying that you got to leave the room, and then Mark said, but they got to come back, and so I thought that was pretty funny.
I heard that. Yes, yeah, exactly. It's not like they don't come back.
Yeah, that's fair. I thought that was
like they found out later that they got in. So yeah, it'll be interesting.
Yeah, appreciate it as always, man. Good stuff, and glad Elijah's hooked us up with you here in Columbia. We'll talk to you down the line, man. Have fun this weekend.
All right, guys. Thanks for having me on.
You bet. Bye. That's Mitch Light, the Athletic. That's how you follow him, too. Mitch Light. Good stuff. They got to come back.
That's right. They don't stay out forever.
They don't. What's going on at the SEC meetings? Give you an update as we return.
From the WIS Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell with a few accidents to get to that are causing some delays on the roadways this afternoon. We'll start off with a pretty major one, or at least a disabled vehicle that's causing a major traffic backup. That's going to be on I-26 westbound over near Augusta Road and exit 111. That has the right lane completely blocked. In Richland County, we have two to get to you, one on Forum Drive near Fashion Drive, and one on US 176 at Broad River Road and Greystone Boulevard. Lastly, we have an accident in Lexington County on US 378 near Mineral Springs Road that is causing some minor traffic delay.
Yeah, it's extremely tough. I mean, the fact that they're in our conference, they're further away, they're a powerful football team, they're got a great state to recruit in. Both their coaching staffs are really good. Sark and Brent both have SEC kind of experience, and Brent being over in the ACC and playing at Clemson, he's played SEC teams kind of forever. So they both know the climate they're jumping into, and we think it makes our conference better. You know, our brand extends further west, and two tremendous programs. When you add those two in, it makes the scheduling, much tougher.
Kirby. Yes, it does, Coach. That's Kirby Smart on the additions of Texas and Oklahoma. Does it make the conference better? Yeah. Does it make the conference harder? Yeah. Scheduling should actually not be as hard, because what you should do is you should add a conference game or two and play everybody in the conference.
Like a true round robin in your conference, or get as close as you can. Just
my opinion on that. Welcome back into the postgame show. Jay Phillips, Elijah Campbell with you. Yesterday, the SEC coaches all came out. Again, they don't have a true vote. They have a voice. Say they do not want to lose walk-ons. Part of the House versus NCAA settlement could. Again, once everything is done, it's not done yet. You know, they've agreed to the outline, have the schools. Now the court has to basically do this. And I read actually today that there are a couple of things that Judge Claudia Wilkin may be concerned about. This is a little off topic for where we were going with the SEC meetings, but I'll bring it up anyway. This $20 million number, if you haven't been paying attention to what the settlement holds, schools will be allowed, should they choose. This is not going to be mandatory. It'll be voluntary, but schools may choose to spend up to $20 million in their athletic expenditures per year on player payment. Whether you want to call it salary or whatever, doesn't really matter to me. But one of the legal questions I saw that she may ask is, well, now, wait a minute. Isn't that just a cap? And, will someone want to challenge that? Now, if you get a settlement with these particular plaintiffs, it doesn't necessarily hold future plaintiffs, potential plaintiffs, to the same standard. So it is an interesting question. I don't know. $20 million, by the way, I did see, Elijah, 22% of the average Power 5 budget. That's how they came up with $20 million.
Good number.
So
that is more than enough to spread around, and you know what can go up in future years?
Numbers.
That number.
Yeah, numbers.
Especially once new TV deals.
Well, if it's going to be 22%, then you could figure with inflation that if inflation goes up 3, 4, 5% a year, and you just be tacking that up like cost of living adjustments that most people get in their jobs. By the way, if you're wondering, Carolina, the last year of reporting Carolina's athletic expenditures, $160 million, 160. Alabama was right at 200, I think, if if you want to get an idea. I always say that Carolina and Alabama, or South Carolina and Alabama as states, are very demographically similar. But University of Alabama spends a lot more money on sports than the University of South Carolina. That's not a judgment. That's an observation.
It's because the football team is a revenue machine.
They spend
historically.
They spend and generate. I don't know. They spend about 130 of that 200 million on football.
Oh yeah. Not even close.
And now
that's what they care about the most.
Yeah, and they get a lot more in like licensing and royalty fees and local and national advertising. Their deal with Nike is better than Carolina's deal with Under Armour. So there are things that are inherent to what Alabama football is, even if the state and its population don't. Again, our states are. If you like you like to do, if you did a blind resume. Which state is this, South Carolina or Alabama? It would be really tough
to distinguish.
I mean, population,
capital city size,
everything. Population, education, salaries, all that. It's because I've looked, and it's the difference is that Auburn and Bama have hated each other for so long that they've been willing to outspend each other as best they possibly can for that same amount of time.
And and both schools have football histories dating back to before Vietnam,
right?
Back before all the boom of the business of college football.
If you look,
began to happen.
Why has Georgia played Auburn more than Auburn's played Alabama? It's real simple. They truly hated each other so much that for like 20 years they didn't play. Like they hated each other so much,
which is remarkable to think about today. That they would straight up rather not play each other.
Yeah, the hate was so real. They're like, I don't even want to be on the same field or place with you.
I love that.
Like we'll play Georgia, damn it, but we're not playing you, Alabama.
We'd rather cross state lines to play an annual game every year than have to play with you.
Speaking of rivals, one more from Kirby Smart here. I just want you to play it. Then we're gonna. I want you to hear it. Then we're gonna set it up. We're gonna go in reverse.
Say what you will. He told me the day before they decided to do the lawsuit, and I told him that'd be between his family and his attorneys. Not really I'm not involved in it. Georgia's not involved in it anyway. So, but Jaden is a good football player. We knew Jaden when he was coming out, and he's got a good body of work. He's had. The ability to play, which is really critical at the quarterback position. He's actually played it and very talented. So we're happy he's joining us and looking forward to working with him.
What's he played a game? Seriously.
Oh, that clicking in the background?
Yeah.
All the typing?
That's somebody typing that out as quickly as
Stenographer.
Possible. That was Kirby on Jaden Rashada filing suit against not the University of Florida or the University of Florida Athletics Association, but specifically against a couple of former boosters and collective members and head coach Billy Napier. And Kirby, I won't do too much of my Vito Corleone here, but, you had to get the blessing.
Kiss the ring afterward.
Yeah, that's between rings. Two of them.
He's got both.
Two of them.
Kiss the rings.
Secretly, is Kirby nervous about that, or does he absolutely just love it?
I bet he's eating it up. Because you know what Billy Napier and Florida's going to have to do? Because even though Florida's not named in the suit, they have said publicly that they are going to support him. They're
going to pay his defense, yes.
Which means they are like the University of Florida, which means it's going to come from the athletic department's budget, is going to use those resources to keep Billy Napier secure in a court of law. Which means that's less that they have to spend on football. This is the most SEC of SEC things. Kirby thought about it, and at first he thought, this is a distraction football team. Because you know what football teams hate? Distractions.
Yeah, they do.
Football coaches hate distractions. I'm sure Kirby will lose all of his hair if he has to hear about, reckless driving charges on his football team one more bleeping time. But you know what distraction he wouldn't mind? A distraction that takes away resources from your biggest rival, who you're already crushing. You already took their best running back from last year and their best offensive weapon. You already own them in the series now. Don't think they've lost to them since 2020. And now you have a chance to be able to create a small little leak in their athletic department's budget for having to spend money in court costs to defend their head coach. in what already is a terrible PR look for that football team and that university?
Yeah, and it has been the whole time. And that's why, I come back to it. And I understand. By the way, speaking of things that I've read about this house settlement, and while I won't alter my stance, I have at least had something change my point of view, and it was this. Collectives are out of house, right? They're associated, but they're not under the direct purview, at least at a lot of schools. They can be now. And maybe when Coach Tanner told us, like, well, right now we think they're doing an okay job with what they're doing, and we're going to leave them alone. I'm paraphrasing. He said they're doing a fine job. He didn't say, oh, they're okay. I don't mean it that way. But if you have this $20 million that you can spend, that's under your control. But then the collective can go do something else. But if the collective is in-house,
you have no plausible deniability for any.
Where's the rub? Like, can you get what can the collective do beyond the $20 million? And so maybe you'll see the collective stay out of house for that very reason. Now,
I love good plausible deniability.
At some schools, Texas, they can spend a lot more money. But at some schools, Carolina, Ole Miss, maybe not as much. That'll be interesting to follow. Come back on the other side. Speaking of NIL, one of the biggest stars in music has some thoughts on NIL and his bowl game. We'll explain when the postgame show continues.
I'm happy to announce that the Snoop Dogg AZ Bowl is partnering with brands that will help us be the first bowl, you hear me, the first bowl to offer NIL money to student athletes. We will be the first bowl to do that. Let's go, AZ. Let's go, NCAA. Let's go, players.
That was Snoop Dogg yesterday. Welcome back into the postgame show. Snoop and Gin and Juice are going to be partnering up to sponsor the Arizona Bowl. It'll take place December 28th in Tucson. Brett McMurphy of the Action Network, the first to report this. Brett gets everything, man.
That's a very well-resourced individual with a fantastic mustache.
So, I don't know. Now, Snoop is apparently going to be at the game and at Bowl Week. I don't know if Dr. Dre is going to be there as well. That would be pretty cool.
Would be awesome.
And they are going to offer some form of NIL payment to every player in the game. They would like to see some guys, play in this game. Now, last year, I don't want to say this is the catch. Last year, this game was Wyoming versus Toledo. And I know when I say it, it's like you are disrespecting them. It's not my intent, though, but I suppose it is. But you want this to matter.
Josh Allen ain't walking through that door.
No. A Wyoming versus the matchup that you're looking for. Now, I'm not saying you got to go get, Notre Dame to play Texas in a bowl game or something like that. And I don't know who's going to be doing what. And remember, you got 12 schools that are now going to be in a playoff, so they're not going to this game. There has been talk, by the way, before we come back around to this, that, hey, if you lose your first-round game, can you still go to a bowl? Or should you be able to? I'm like, I don't care. If you want to, if they invite you, who am I to keep you?
That'd be cool.
Yeah. Now, maybe once you advance, then you really don't have time, right?
Unless we want to play bowl games post-Valentine's Day.
But I don't care. I mean, sure.
Whatever floats your boat.
We're going to have 4 losers, right? 4 first-round losers because we have 4 buys.
In mid-December. The bids for these usually go out in mid-December. So instead of getting all of our bowl game fix on who's playing where in one day, you have to kind of wait an extra week or so to fill out your bowl pool.
When's the first round? Do we have that yet?
I want to say it was around Christmas, but I might.
Well, now it's got to be earlier, though. That's what I'm saying. Now it'll be like the second week of December, right? So I mean, you can go.
Remember that.
Well, regardless, good for them. Here's my next question: will another bowl or bowls follow suit with what Snoop and Dr. Dre are going to do here in the next couple of weeks or months, and say we're going to do this too? In an effort to either get a better matchup or try and keep some star players in these games. And can you make it worth their while? What are we talking about here? Again, with all due respect, a Wyoming versus Toledo matchup in Tucson, Arizona, the week between Christmas and New Year's is not necessarily the ticket sales boost that you're going for.
Nope. In terms of NIL and trying to entice players to stay for that game.
And Snoop and Dre have done an excellent job in their career of making a lot of money.
They're good at this.
They're really good at making a lot of money. Like a lot. So, they'd like to keep doing that. And if you have this and you just dole all the money out, now maybe they don't care for this one time, right? Like be like, man, we're good. So I'll be interested to see how this works. But I'm all for it. I just hope they get a good matchup and that they make this something that's very entertaining.
First round games are going to be December 20th and 21st.
Oh, no, you can't play in a bowl.
Yeah. At that point, it's too late.
Nah, you can't play in a bowl.
Yeah, too late. Too bad. But if bowl games still would like to remain relevant and you still want to get players involved.
Oh, well, they are relevant because bowl games are the playoff sites, Elijah. Didn't you know that? They're very, very relevant. This is a legit thing that they're doing to play bowl games.
Whatever they want to tell themselves. Yeah.
Sorry, I interrupted you there.
But if the ones that aren't playoff games. If they would like to stay in business,
Sure.
what you need to do is do this exact same thing right here. Because, look, you're going to get better efforts. You're going to get better games. You're going to get a product, an actual product. It's not going to feel like a scrimmage anymore, which is ultimately what some of these bowl games have become at a certain level. I know it means a lot more for some G5 schools, but there are some G5 schools with players whose names were already in the portal by the time they got to play the Myrtle Beach Bowl or the Hawaii Bowl or whatever bowl it is. It entices some of those portal players to stay, and for the college football fan, you become more familiar with them because you see them on a national stage before they end up putting their name in the portal and play at a Power 5 school. We all win here if that's the case.
No, I agree. By the way, fun fact, Myrtle Beach Bowl, Conway.
Technically not in Myrtle Beach.
Just thought I'd let y'all know.
What's the difference?
Headlines of the day. Good news for Scotty Scheffler. Good news for Dawn Staley. All that and more. Coming up. I love telling you about our friends at AAA Heating and Air. Why? Well, because they're great at what they do, and they keep me and my family feeling very comfortable inside our home all year long across the Midlands, especially right now, when it's 90 degrees-ish outside. Time for a system upgrade. You say, well, yeah, Jay, it is, but I don't know if I can afford that right now. Aha! Roy and Dana Finley are ready to help you out. AAA Heating and Air is giving you guaranteed financing, no payments or interest for a full year if you buy in 2024, a $1,500 system buyback rebate, and the comfort of a 15-year parts and labor guarantee. Really, is there a better time to get a new HVAC system? I don't know if there is. Call AAAtoday.com. That's the website to get an instant quote, or you can call them up at 803-677-1500. Tell them I sent you. Stay comfortable all the time with AAA Heating and Air.
From the WIS Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell with a few accidents to report to you that are causing some delays on the roadways this afternoon. We'll start here in Richland County. An accident has been reported on Clemson Road near Summit Parkway. We also have one on Forum Drive near Fashion Drive, one on Sparkleberry Lane near Two Notch Road, and one on US 176 at Broad River Road in Greystone Boulevard. in Lexington County, we have a couple other accidents as well. One on US 378 near Mineral Springs Road. And lastly, one on I-26 westbound that's going to be near the Augusta Road exit 111.
It is 5 o'clock news time on this Wednesday. Welcome back in. Final hour of the postgame show as well. He's Elijah Campbell. I'm Jay Phillips. Thank you so much for being with us wherever you are across the state of South Carolina and beyond. We will start in Louisville, Kentucky with today's headlines, where all charges have been dropped against Scotty Scheffler. Of course, he was charged with several things after the incident early on day 2 of the PGA Championship in Louisville. He faced 4 counts, including felony second-degree assault of a police officer. His attorney, Steve Romines, said today, quote, "We've been going back and forth since it happened. I had made it clear to them," that's the prosecution, that it was not a negotiation. We were either going to litigate the case or it was going to be dismissed. They correctly came to the conclusion that there was not probable cause and the case should be dismissed. Earlier today, I watched the video. I don't know if you saw it. I saw the hearing in Louisville. The DA was very polite and forthright. You know, I don't want to say he was contrite, but basically, listen, prosecutors, as any of you know, prosecutors need to feel like if they're going to trial, they're going to win. Not that they're going to go put up a good fight. They need to feel that they are going to win. There was another video that came out this morning. I don't know how many of you have seen it. You can find it pretty much anywhere. It's about 4 minutes long. I do not know the name of the officer involved. It was not the arresting officer. It was basically, I don't know what the term is. Thank God, Elijah, I've not been arrested, so I don't know.
There's always time.
I know,
you got
right?
a lot of life ahead of you.
I'm still pulling. It's on the bucket list.
Oh.
I'll find a way.
We can get creative. That could be a fun summer topic.
Yeah,
How can we get Jay in the slammer?
Top 5 Friday. Top 5 ways to get arrested.
Hey, there we go. My mind is just churning with ideas. How can we get Jay?
Let's not do that.
Arrested.
I kind of call like the holding officer. I think this is when Scotty was in the police car before they took him downtown to get booked.
It's like an Uber driver, but you don't pay for this one. You just pay for it later.
The guy was basically, I told you this earlier, he was treating him like a 5-year-old, and he was baiting him. And Steve Romines, Scheffler's attorney today, in the post-hearing press conference, was not kind to the Louisville Police Department and how they handled this. And I don't know that he should have been, to be perfectly honest with you. But the guy was basically, and he said, this is why you don't talk to the cops. He said the cops aren't looking for the truth. The cops are looking for a way to get you to incriminate yourself. And he said, that's their job. He said, that's why you don't talk to them. But Scotty, he was basically saying, Scotty is so nice. Scotty was trying to explain why it was such a big misunderstanding.
Right.
And I think the DA in this case and his staff clearly saw all of this and more. And there was the video the other day from the still camera that did not show an officer being dragged by a car going 2 or 3 miles an hour.
Dragged was a little dramatic.
It also shows, and Scotty said, dude, my window was down, and the dude hit me with his flashlight. You know, and that was on today's new video. Now, I'm not saying that they saw that video today, the prosecutors and the DA, and then said, oh, boy, we got to drop this. I think they maybe had already had that. Then that came out along with the other stuff. There's no body cam footage. You see, again, you've seen most of you now, if you've been paying any attention to this, and if you haven't, don't worry about it. It ain't that big a deal in the grand scheme, but
it was for a day.
It was for a few days, man. This is the number one golfer in the world.
Getting arrested before his round at a
before
major
round
tournament.
2, and then he goes out and shoots 5 under, which is just still crazy. But the video does not suggest at all what the charges were. And then Scheffler's attorney made another great point. Police will always overcharge you because that's part of their negotiation. In terms of, well, we'll take this one off, and we'll take this one off, and you'll plead to this one, and we'll let you go. And that's what he was saying today. And that's why he said in his statement, we told him, nah, my guy didn't do anything.
Yeah.
You had an overzealous guy who wasn't supposed to be there, didn't know exactly what the protocol was. My guy was doing what he was told by one of yours about 2 minutes before, if that, and he was just trying to get out of the way. So, anyway, all
those
charges
pants were not damaged beyond repair.
Yeah, I don't know. I still don't know. I mean, have we seen said pants? Seriously, have we seen the pants?
I need to see proof of the pants.
Because I think that's kind of what the attorney said. It's like, their story doesn't add up. My guy's story adds up. Theirs doesn't. That's what he was basically saying today.
Unless he got scared and soiled them. If that's the case, you can still fix that. It's not ruined beyond repair.
And to that point, again, Mr. Romines, Scheffler's attorney, Detective Gillis was not struck by Scotty's car. He was not drugged by Scotty's car. So however he got to torn pants or a scrape on his knee didn't have anything to do with Scotty Scheffler. That was what he said today. And I think the DA has to basically agree here. Again, they think they can win. That's why they go to court. So Scotty did send out and again, people on tour have been saying, he's just the nicest guy in the world. Quote, I hold no ill will toward Officer Gillis. I wish to put this incident behind me and move on, and I hope he'll do the same. Police officers have a difficult job. I hold them in high regard. This was a severe miscommunication in a chaotic situation. The charges have been dismissed with prejudice. That means they cannot be refiled. And from what I understand, there is some kind of agreement, whether it's in writing or not or how it works, I don't know, that no one involved on either side will seek to bring any additional charges at any point in time for any reason. So,
fair solution.
Yeah. So there you go. So Scotty Scheffler is off the hook, as we all pretty much expected he was going to be. Basically
predictable. That was a predictable turn.
Yeah. It seems so. To some local news for you. Good news for Coach Dawn Staley and her staff. They have secured a commitment from Arkansas transfer Miriam Dowda. She is a former McDonald's All-American. She's from Arkansas, redshirted her first year. She played in 35 games, averages 3.5 points, 2.7 boards. Then she hurt her knee, but last season came back, started all 33 games, averaged about 29 minutes, which at South Carolina means
she would have been the leading. She would have led the team in minutes per game if she got those.
Good news, Miriam. You won't have to play that much at Carolina. Last season, though, 10.1 points, 6.3 boards, 2.2 blocks. She shoots 32% from three, and she averages more than one assist per game. She scored 19 points against South Carolina in their lone matchup last season. This is a nice pickup. She's a big. You certainly think that, Ashlyn Watkins is going to kind of move into that role. We know what Chloe Kitts can do, but they've been looking for somebody. You're not going to get a like for Camilla. That's just that ain't happening. But
Miriam's about 3 inches shorter.
Yeah, but nevertheless, this is a quality pickup.
That's depth. I mean, that's certainly. And here's the thing: South Carolina doesn't have to go into the transfer portal looking for the home run hit, right? You can go into the transfer portal looking for bunt singles because you are just already so loaded as is. You're really only losing Camilla, and then Sakima Walker ran out of eligibility. Tahina's coming back. You have a loaded guard room. You have got a loaded room of forwards. So if there was a place to fill in supplement roster spot, that's probably it. And you're getting Tack, who's going to be healthy next year. I'm feeling she'll be playing in a similar role. So you're going to have a logjam at almost every single position, but they're logjams of McDonald's All-Americans. This is about as loaded a roster as it can get. And look, anytime you get a player who's scoring 10 points a game, is blocking a shot a game, and has been incredibly effective in her time on the floor, you're going to take it. So if I was surprised they took a transfer at all. My expectation was that they weren't going to take one just because of how the roster looks.
Right.
But this is just another good story of the rich getting richer when it comes to building an absolute powerhouse in a wagon where even though you're 12th or 13th player on the team is a McDonald's All-American.
Yeah, and I'm with you. It's maybe a little bit of a surprise, but at the same time, like, Dawn's not just going to go looking to just fill it with whomever.
Right, exactly.
So when you find out there's interest and the interest becomes mutual, and then you have that process unfold, like you said, you've just added a McDonald's All-American who played a half hour a game and averaged double figures in the Southeastern Conference.
Blocking over 4 shots per 100 possessions.
Well, I like the fact, honestly, man, I like the fact that she has better than an assist per game.
Yeah.
Knows how to distribute, because that's one of the things that Camilla, I'm not saying Ashlyn can't or Sakima can't, or we haven't seen Adele Tack play yet, but, Camilla knew how to distribute the basketball. It didn't always lead to a direct assist in terms of somebody getting, points from the pass.
Master of the hockey assist.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I wish, soccer and basketball had the hockey assist. It's the pass that leads to the pass that leads to the score.
I actually think NBA.com for professional basketball, if you go to NBA stats, they do track.
Somebody's tracking.
They track screen assists and what they call it hockey assists.
Yeah. No, the hockey assist is great.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
And many times that's usually the more difficult pass to make.
Well, I
or
think
this person who's shooting the puck and it deflects off a couple dudes.
Like Lionel Messi has scored like 800 and whatever goals, but he also has like 500 assists. But that's direct passes. How many hockey assists does Lionel Messi have?
Oh,
another 500.
Just a stupid amount.
Probably, seriously, So Camilla could do that, man. She knew how to distribute. So I like a big that knows how to redirect the ball.
That's the future of the game at all levels.
Yeah.
Men's and women's basketball too. Your forwards got to be able to play make a little bit if they're going to be as effective as possible.
You've got to see the floor and know what you're doing. Yeah, I think it's a good pickup for South Carolina. So the most talented team in the country remains the most talented team in the country, and I believe Chris Wellbaum had it that Carolina now has I don't know. I saw it somewhere earlier. I don't know if it was in Chris's piece or not, but they've got anyway, they've got just almost every position is a McDonald's All-American, like you were saying.
Enough to make Ronald McDonald blush.
We mentioned this earlier, but we'll tell you again as we continue our integrated media headlines.
Burger King can never.
Of the day. The Atlanta Braves are going to be debuting tonight a young man named Spencer Schwellenbach. He pitched at Nebraska. Had Tommy John surgery once he left college. So far this season in Double-A baseball, he has struck out 51 batters in 45 innings pitched. It did not allow an earned run in his last couple of starts at Double-A Mississippi in Jackson/Pearl. He will make his major league debut tonight in the Braves rotation as they take on the Washington Nationals. So good luck. I say good luck because I'm a Braves fan. In a news segment, I'm not supposed to do that.
If you're a Nationals fan, you're like, tee off.
My oldest daughter's boyfriend is a Nationals fan, so I'm mad at him about Monday, but they won last night, so what do I care?
I was going to say, is he a Nationals fan from their old days as the Montreal Expos?
No. He's from the greater D.C. area.
Okay,
yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
That's fair fandom.
He may speak French and like Montreal. I don't know.
Exactly.
I've not heard.
Maybe he was a big Jose Vidro fan. I was as a kid, big Jose Vidro guy.
Yeah, Vlad Guerrero. See, I'm older than you.
Guerrero,
like
definitely.
Tim Wallach and Andre Dawson and Gary Carter.
That was definitely well before.
Al Oliver.
Before my time.
Who was their pitcher that was so good with the big mustache? I know. I hear some of you screaming at your radio right now. If you're my age, I'll think of it in a second.
Levon Hernandez.
Yeah, I remember
That's
him.
more my era at Montreal Expos.
Finally,
I miss them.
my Dallas Mavericks fell last night, 105-100 at home. Though they're still up 3-1 on the Minnesota Timberwolves. Game 5 will be back in the Twin Cities on Thursday night with the T-Wolves tomorrow night, 5.5-point favorites.
You want to talk about pressure? There's going to be a lot of pressure on the Mavericks if they're coming back to Dallas for a Game 6. That is going to be some stupid levels.
As you know,
of pressure.
again, I'm a Mavericks super fan, and they'll be fine.
Lifelong, yeah.
Yeah, they'll be fine.
Your Reef LaFrance jerseys might have to get broken out somewhere.
Again, I told you, Mark Aguirre, man.
Design a shop.
You know, I'm going.
Real player.
Yeah, see, I don't know if it is or not. You just no.
He was on the quiz. You should know.
You
should know. He was on the quiz.
803-948-8327 for all your home entertainment needs and so much more. Call my good friends at Integrated Media. What Mark Kingston's talking about with defense and pitching coming up. So I want to tell you about my good friend Ben Cato, Matt, the whole crew at Cato's Power Equipment. I've been telling y'all now for about a year since I got my, now not new anymore, but I do love my 30-inch Toro Time Master. Now that same mowing size is available in a battery-powered system. Ben says it's sweet, quiet, smooth cut, nothing to worry about except charging the batteries. He even says they've got tons of tools like trimmers and edgers that use the same battery. So you can build a package for all of your landscaping needs, whether you're like me and you like doing that stuff around the yard or you do it for a living. Great way to be a little bit more efficient. Toro also has a battery-powered 42-inch time cutter zero turn that Ben says is absolutely amazing. Stop in and see them, 4012 West Beltline Boulevard. Learn more online, catospowerequipment.com. Family-owned since the 80s. Go see my friends at Cato's. 20 minutes after 5 o'clock on this Wednesday afternoon. Welcome back into the postgame show. Jay and Elijah with you. Thank you for being with us. Again, looking ahead to tomorrow's program, Coach Stuart Lake will be with us in the 4 o'clock hour. He'll be up in Raleigh. Gamecocks and James Madison get it going on Friday afternoon. We may be with you on Friday. Elijah and the EBPI suggest otherwise.
Yeah, it suggests that if we will be with you, we will be here for a good time, not a long time.
Yep. Hey, I'm here for a good time. And again,
5 minutes.
We've penciled in our buddy Aaron Fitt from D1 Baseball for tomorrow's show. He believes he can do 3:30, but he's got a bunch of different press things to cover. So I am, this is what he does for a living. I'm being gracious. I'm like, fine.
We'll pencil you in because we have a hell of an eraser.
Yeah. So
it works really well.
And we're going to, I think we're efforting our buddy, I talking out of turn, I've said it now. So I think we're efforting our buddy Jack Veltri as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. Jack and I have been in communication for credentialing purposes.
Okay.
So we're making sure we're both able to go.
And speaking of baseball, if you missed it earlier today, our good friend John Whittle was on with us talking Carolina baseball. Mitch Light was on talking more of the national scene. He of The Athletic, John, of course, of the Big Spur. Those are available on the podcast page at 1075thegame.com or on the app, which you can find at the App Store or the Google Play Store.
If you find the Google Stop Store, you've gone too far.
Okay. There you go.
There's your directions.
Cut number, which one was I going to do here, Elijah? I've already forgotten.
No, we're tough. We talking pitching. There is no cut number. I have.
Oh, you've got the whole thing.
I pulled it. The pitching quote. Yeah,
good.
In terms of having to get creative because.
Yeah.
There's been no consistency with this team in terms of pitching all season long. They've tried the traditional way of college baseball pitching with their 3 starters in Roman Kimball, Eli Jones, and Dylan Eskew, and they've kind of had to scrap that. And then you saw them get freaky with it with Roman starting for an inning and then Ty Good going 5 or 6. And then, Eli being a full traditional starter and then seeing them, duct tape Sunday together. Now they've gotten really freaky with it where, going into Hoover, Eskew starts for a little bit, you bullpen it. Then you try to get, Garrett Gainey was getting some starts. Ty Good's been getting some starts. They've been getting really freaky with it, and they're going to have to get maybe freakier with it when we get to Raleigh this weekend because they don't exactly know what you got in some solidified roles. And I believe it was you, Jay, that asked this question on how you manage those roles and how you manage having to maybe think outside the box. And here is Mark's answer.
I just think it's a reminder that you have to be creative. Sports, you have to be creative. In sports, the box and one defense was created because their typical defense wasn't getting it done or the other team had a superstar player, so we've got to get creative. The wishbone was created in football because that team's personnel didn't allow it to throw for 300 yards a game, so we're going to find something else that might help us win. And baseball-wise, it's the same thing, whether it's your offense is a power offense or you need to bunt a lot and run a lot, or pitching-wise, you don't have 3 weekend starters that'll give you 100 pitches every weekend. There's other ways to win games, and I think it's just been a reminder this year that you've got to be creative. You've got to have an open mind and try things along the way, and that's how you win games. You take what you have, you try to make whatever the best dish you can make out of the ingredients you have. That's what you do, and sometimes it's more fun that way because it allows you to be non-traditional and hey, let's give this a shot, and when it works, it's pretty satisfying.
And it worked last week for the most part. Again, you did give up a lot of runs in your 2 losses to Louisiana State, but you've at some point you kind of knew you were running on fumes. By the way, again, thanks to our friend Dakota Watson, who produces and directs the TV show that Bill Gunner and I do every week for Gamecocks Plus called The Cocktail Hour. That cut and more are available. I believe the episode is coming out later tonight on Gamecocks Plus.
There's much more where that came from.
Yeah.
That's a tease.
Please enjoy. Again, we're having a really good time with that. So I thank Coach Kingston and Kent Reichert for letting us shoot this week's episode at the ballpark.
Scenic. Yeah. Very nice.
Well, it was in the press room, so I mean, you've been there a bunch. It wasn't.
It's a nice press room.
Oh no, it's a beautiful press room, but no, we wanted to do it out on the field, but they were busy out there.
Yeah, grounds crew has a pretty important job.
Well, they still had to practice a couple times, so we didn't. We thought we were as important as the team practicing, but we were wrong.
But you know what would have made really good content? Is if you guys were out there in the outfield trying to shoot this and you're dodging fly balls.
Well, at that point, I'd have just taken my glove and shagged a few flies, man.
Yeah, but you
Like
can't
the
move
old
from your
days.
seat. You guys, it's a sit-down interview. You guys must stay there. Everybody's got a glove, and if the ball comes your way, you have to catch it no matter where you're at in the interview.
Yeah, that would be
About as innovative as Mark's going to have to get with his pitching staff this weekend.
that would be a lot of fun. Cut number 17, please, sir. Speaking of giving up some runs against LSU, you also scored a whole bunch of runs last week, and as part of this interview, we asked Mark what led to the bats getting hot.
Well, I think generally we are a pretty good offense.
Yeah.
You know, we've got a lot of good hitters in our lineup. And when Cole Messina is hitting like that, it raises the level of everybody. And when Ethan Petrie is hitting at his top level, it raises the level of everybody. I think you have to tip your cap to Tennessee. They're the #1 seed for a reason, and we were in their home ballpark. Right. So sometimes Garrett Cole is just going to get you. You know, sometimes a Cy Young Award winner is just going to get you. Right. That's how baseball works. That's why those guys make $50 million a year, because when certain pitchers pitch, they usually win. And sometimes you run into those guys, and sometimes teams have 3 or 4 of those guys. That's just the way it works. And so I think we got through the Tennessee weekend. We went to Hoover with confidence still, and we performed very well.
So there you go. Can you keep that going? I think the answer on Friday, again, not predicting a win. I don't like predictions anyway. But you went over some numbers earlier. If you want to share a few of them again real quick, that leads us to believe this could be a game where a lot of runs are scored and pitching changes are made and the clock ticks slowly.
Exactly. Now, for the full summation, I do highly recommend going back to hour 1. And I'll tweet a lot of this out as well at E_Campbell3. But JMU, they score well over 7 runs a game, and they're first in the Sun Belt, which has had plenty of solid pitching staffs. And there's a lot of good baseball played in the Fun Belt, but they're first in batting average, a team batting average of 300. Over half the lineup is hitting over 300, with Fenwick Trimble, real name, hitting 371. And the biggest thing about this team is not just that they hit the ball, put the ball in play, lead the Sun Belt in slugging percentage, but they don't draw a ton of walks. They don't strike out a lot. Ball always in play.
Yeah.
And this South Carolina team, mind you, 12 errors, 5 games, really more like 13 or 14 that just weren't classified as errors. So the ball is going to be put in play for JMU. Certainly, it's going to be up to the Gamecocks to decide how easy it is for them to get outs and how much they're able to get 27 outs when they need the 27 outs. Pitching-wise, JMU, the numbers, quite frankly, are atrocious. They are over 6 ERA. They give up a lot of runs. That's 10th in the Sun Belt, by the way. In terms of walks and hits per innings pitched, they're well over 1.6. So teams get on base against JMU pretty frequently. They don't strike out a lot of batters. They're 11th in the Sun Belt in strikeouts, and they surrender a decent amount of walks, an average amount of walks. And South Carolina draws enough to be able to make up for that number. So I think you can reasonably conclude that the Gamecocks are going to draw walks, and they're going to put a lot of balls in play. Yeah. Their projected starters, both, the one who I think is going to start is Donovan Burke, a lefty with over 5.14 ERA. South Carolina's going to put the bat on the ball a lot. We might see a lot of balls leaving the yard for the Gamecocks. Now, while James Madison might not hit a ton of home runs, they do get aggressive on the base pass to be able to manufacture a lot of runs. They led the Sun Belt in steals with 100, and if you put them in the SEC, they would have finished second in the SEC in stolen bases behind only Kentucky. They mirror a lot of Kentucky on paper. Kentucky scores a lot of runs because they manufacture them on the base pass. That's what James Madison does. So I think there's going to be enough runs to be making it a little hairy if we're on air or not on Friday.
Like I said, if they're still playing at 5:15, I'm going home.
Sayonara.
Coming up, drive around the SEC. How do you view Greg Sankey? How does Greg Sankey view Greg Sankey? That was part of the SEC meetings. And did Southern Cal really try to ditch an SEC opponent? That's coming up.
From the WIS Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell. The few accidents to report to you that are causing some delays on the roadways this afternoon, but we'll lead off here with some good news. And that's that the I-26 westbound incident near Augusta Road and exit 111 has been cleared, so traffic moving a lot more smoothly there on that side of town. We still have some issues, though, one on Sparkleberry Lane at Valhalla Drive, one on Sparkleberry Lane near Two Notch Road, so Sparkleberry Lane has a few issues with some minor traffic backup. We also have one on Greystone Boulevard near I-126 rather, and one on Clemson Road near Summit Parkway. Lastly, we have one accident in Lexington County to report on, and that's at Highway 1 at Augusta Road at Laurel Road.
It is Drive Around the SEC time. Welcome back in. Jay and Elijah with you. We'll start with what's going on down at the meetings in Destin, Florida. And a lot of people around the country don't like Greg Sankey. They think that he's a bully, that the SEC just gets its way no matter what. That now that he is the longest tenured conference commissioner, and there's really only a, power two, air quoting, along with Tony Petitti of the Big Ten, that Greg will push Tony around, and it's all the big bad SEC. And Greg maybe doesn't quite see it that way. He says, quote, "There are times when I think I have a correct perspective that I'm clear in sharing. But I think this becomes a we issue. I said to my presidents, I was very direct, you expect me to be a statesman. There's times you have to be forceful, and you have to find a balance in these leadership positions between both." He basically said that now that he's had this working group, they don't like to call it an alliance, with the Big Ten. He said it's an important opportunity and that he wants to, quote, narrow the conversation because you don't solve really big problems with big rooms filled with people. And that quote was one I seized on in speaking with you, Elijah, for our conversation that we have every morning before we do the show. This is when Greg was part of the NCAA Division I Council and a transformation committee, I think they called it. And you and I referenced this a couple days ago. Commissioner Sankey was the co-chair along with the athletics director at Ohio University. And, again, co-chair, A. B, it just illustrated from the get-go that you're trying to transform something with a group, as Greg says here, big rooms filled with people. It isn't working. Division I is way too bloated. That's my opinion. All right, that's not something Greg said. That's my opinion. And you and I talked about this morning. I just want to tell y'all something to kind of illustrate. So take this as you will. I'm just giving you some fact. But I looked up PC because it's right up the road. So that's the only reason I chose Presbyterian College, because it's right up the road. In the last available numbers that I could find for fiscal years, and I'm going to compare it only to South Carolina, USC's budget. South Carolina's last year athletic revenues were about $160 million. Presbyterian College, which is a Division I school, and again, I'm not knocking PC at all. I'm giving you the fact. PC, I'm going to round up, is about $11.4 million. It's about 14 times the difference. And South Carolina, like they are in a lot of things, is about in the middle of the Southeastern Conference when it comes to athletic revenues and budgets. Take it as you will, but you can't transform things when you're dealing with such disparity. because you're still going to want people to be in D1. And again, I'm not picking on PC. I'm just giving you an example. There are other schools like that are in D1. You got to be a bully sometimes, and you got to start saying, and I kind of wish Greg Sankey would have done this earlier, to say, listen, you can't work with this. There's too many schools that have budgets like this, whereas our schools in the Big Ten can do it differently, and we'd like to do it differently. And I think he feels the same way about some of these smaller schools. I was like, I'm not here to knock you. And I think a lot of people want sports to survive at every level in this country. But at some point, maybe you got to be a jerk about it and go like, I just can't do it this way anymore. So I get why people say what they say about him, but I see where he's coming from.
Yeah, in a way. But in all honesty, in terms of other conferences that are going to be acting in their best interest, and all other conference commissioners that are acting in the best interest of their conference, as they should, as a good commissioner does, the same way Greg Sankey has for the SEC, why should any of them trust him or Tony Petitti? Because they have been the ones that have been stealing some of the best and most resourceful athletic departments from other conferences. And the Big Ten specifically started the demise of another power conference. If Greg Sankey has a hard time getting along with some of the others in that big room, I don't think we have to look far and wide to see why that might be the case. I don't think the three little pigs should ever befriend the big bad wolf.
No.
And that's kind of exactly what's happened here. So the SEC has their part in this too, by taking Missouri and A&M. And in the Big Ten at that same time taking Nebraska and Rutgers, and really starting a domino effect that has completely changed the landscape of how we view college athletics right now. That's where the distrust is. Greg Sankey can't look around and be like, oh, I don't know why nobody would trust me.
I don't disagree with
that's
you.
Kind of. I think he already has wielded his sword a lot,
Yeah.
and that's kind of why. I think it's. I don't say he's playing coy here by saying, sometimes you have to, I guess, flex your force in fewer words, but I think the SEC and the Big Ten kind of already have, and that is why we have
when
some
Kevin
of these
Warren,
issues.
as I've said before, Kevin Warren and the Alliance,
yes.
Kevin Warren didn't stab
Cannibalistic alliance.
he didn't stab anybody in the back. He extended his right hand, shook hands with the Pac-12, and then pulled the knife out of the sheath with his left and stuck it right in their gut.
Right. Yeah.
He did it while they were looking at him.
Oh, they made eye contact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the Big Ten. Now, what role did the Southeastern Conference play? I don't know. But when he says narrow the conversation, I get where he's going.
Oh, yeah.
And at some point, I think you're going to have to continue to do more of that. And like I say, I'm not picking on PC. I use them because they were the closest school to us. Mm-hmm. I got great friends that went to PC. I got a buddy that played football and soccer at PC. I love PC. It's a fine. So I'm not here. I'm giving you an illustration of two schools 45 minutes apart. One of them has a budget that is 14 times larger, and yet they are technically within the same framework.
And in sports like football, that matters the most. I think football is so unique to other sports where if you look at non-football, I think you have maybe a fair Division I, because basketball, baseball, so a lot of these other sports, it doesn't cost as much to be able to do what you do or field a team, especially in a sport like basketball where only 5 scholarship individuals can be on the floor at all times. That sport itself is an equalizer. There are a lot of other sports that are equalizers to where, a team like Presbyterian can go into a school like Vanderbilt with significantly more resources and kick their ass on opening night of men's college basketball, which they did this season. That was a thing that happened, and then that happens pretty frequently. But in football, the needs are so different because the cost of just keeping the operation up is so much more expansive. There's so much more that goes into it that it is quite literally impossible for a lot of those Division I schools to be able to compete and even play by the same rules that the Power Five does. And that's very well documented. And that's why, if it even, makes fracturing Division I into 3 different classifications, so every team has something to play for, so be it. Division I, single A, double A, triple A, and that your double A being your group of 5, your triple A being what you now have as the FCS, and having layers of Division I membership that you have to buy into if you want to get up. That would make a ton of sense. And I think, honestly, if we're putting our thinking hats on, I think that's really one of the best ways you can continue to do this without stripping away previously earned rights to be Division I.
And to your point, I'd like to think I don't believe it will happen this week, but I'd like to think that something that comes out of this year's SEC spring meetings is something like that.
It's very doable
in terms of a
so
solution
doable.
that the Southeastern Conference could promote this summer at media days. They could share with other conferences. That could lead us to something different. Where again, you can as Greg says, narrow the focus. I'm here for all sports to survive, and any of y'all that have listened to me a bunch, I've offered solutions on how to share the revenue in ways that don't include FCS teams being on Power 5 schedules in the fall, and I think they would work.
To be publicly sacrificed.
Yeah. I'll get to this Southern Cal story for you, and Elijah is going to quiz me on some things coming up. All right, welcome back in. Final few minutes of this edition of the Postgame Show. Jay and Elijah with you. So apparently, according to Matt Hayes of Saturday Down South, Lincoln Riley and Southern California have been trying for nearly 2 years to get out of their kickoff game with LSU. Jen Cohen was hired away last year from Washington to be their new AD. It doesn't really, he says it doesn't really, it doesn't give a big reason for it other than they just didn't want to lose. And apparently, Lincoln Riley's agent and Brian Kelly's agent are the same guy. And Lincoln and Southern Cal did the best they could to have the agent call Brian and be like, hey,
pretty please.
you do our boy a solid here.
Take us off the schedule.
And apparently Brian Kelly was like, no, we will not be doing that for you.
Run up the score.
Each team is going to get $5 million for playing the game. Why would you duck it? Again, because you don't want to lose. I get it, but this is no. See, I hate that.
Chicken. Soft.
I hate that.
Soft. That is soft Southern Cal if I've ever heard soft Southern Cal. You know what the S in Southern Cal stands for? Soft. SAUWF.
I want all. I know y'all think I'm crazy around here, and I grew up here. I went to school here at Carolina. I mean, but I want a hard. I like a hard. I want a hard schedule. I'm a sports fan. I'm here. I'm not here to beat, whatever directional tech by 30 so I can get to the whatever bowl.
The C in Southern Cal stands for cowardly. Because that's what that is.
Get on you, LSU. And they will be playing in Vegas to start the season.
And the L and LSU should be laid on thick.
Yeah. So there you go. All right. We've been using some of these last segment of the shows of late to see if I know what the hell I'm talking about. Kind of.
That's right. In a way.
Something like that.
Kind of.
I'm really just here for the game show music from the 70s.
To hear the Price is Right music in the background and just to see exactly how much of the deep cuts you know. Today, it's mascots.
Ugh.
All of these are real. All these schools are real.
Good.
Nothing fictional
So no
here.
made-up French names.
Exactly, which I do enjoy putting together.
Sure.
However, you just got to guess what the mascot is for each school.
Okay.
So I want to start you off pretty easy. At least I think it's easy.
I hope so.
It's the easiest one on this list.
All right.
Bellarmine in Louisville, Kentucky. Member of the A-Sun.
Not the Cardinals.
It's not. Nope. They play in the Cardinals.
Let's go.
Arena.
You know what? Louisville. Let's go Thoroughbreds.
Close. And by close, I mean not at all. They're the Bellarmine Knights.
Oh.
Bellarmine
Well,
School.
Knights ride horses sometimes.
Yeah, they do. Known to.
Yeah.
All
right. But that was the easiest one that I'm in real trouble.
Yeah,
here.
you are in real trouble. Fun fact, they're named after Robert Bellarmine, Saint Robert Bellarmine, who's a central figure in Europe's counter-reformation and Galileo's verdict in 1633. Bet you didn't know that.
I didn't know.
Don't know if you'll know this either. North Florida, what are they?
Oh, wait.
Also in the A-Sun.
Jaguars?
No, that is Southern Alabama. They're the Jaguars. But this team, North Florida,
Hold on.
they are an apex predator.
Oh, man. I don't know. Panthers?
Nope.
I don't know.
This apex predator, the ospreys.
Oh, the osprey. Okay.
Also known as a fish-eating bird of prey.
Yeah,
There's also historically known as a sea hawk, a river hawk, or a fish hawk. Yeah. Notable alum, you guessed it, former NFL OC Todd Haley.
Osprey. That's good. I like seeing osprey catch fish at the beach.
That's fantastic.
No, it's fun.
They're very good at that.
Yeah, it's fun.
This school is very good at producing some very notable alums, but they are in the Big West, not well known in the sports world. This is Cal State Northridge.
Northridge. That's greater LA, yeah. Let's go with humpback whales.
Very close, and by that I mean also not at all. They're the Matadors. The name was chosen to reflect the area's Spanish heritage and was voted on by students in 1958 over the Apollos, Falcons, Rancheros, and Titans. Famous alum, Florence Griffith Joyner, Paula Abdul, Yeah, Paul
Abdul, yeah.
Doors drummer John Densmore.
Oh, Densmore.
And Lucille Ball was an assistant professor there in 1979.
Oh. I mean, she showed up and, like, did a couple of acting classes.
Precisely, and never was the actual professor.
All right, you got time for one more?
That's right. It's the last one. LIU. We talked about LIU.
Yeah, we did. Let's go with something. What's it? I did the Bulldogs.
Also not very close. They're the Sharks. Fins up.
I should have thought about something at the beach.
Yeah, because they used to be LIU Brooklyn. They did merge with LIU Post in 2018.
All right. Yeah, that was hard. If Bellarmine was the easiest, that was hard.
You went over.
And I'm pretty good at mascots, but you went really deep.
I'll have to make it easier next time.
Yeah, go Power 5. I won't miss.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, see y'all tomorrow.